So we are exactly 18 days into this massive military conflict with Iran.
Yeah, 18 days.
Right. But the most explosive strike today, it didn't actually happen anywhere near the Middle East.
No, not at all.
It happened in Washington, D.C., when the U.S. Director of Counterterrorism just, walked away from his post.
Loudly walked away.
Very loudly, declaring that the war isn't based on some imminent threat, but actually on foreign lobbying. So welcome to the deep dive.
Glad to be here.
Today, we are looking at a stack of sources that detail this really fast-moving, incredibly high-stakes political drama. We're talking about the sudden resignation of Joe Kent from the National Counterterrorism Center.
Right, the NCTC.
Exactly. And our mission today for you, the listener, is to unpack the mechanics of, why he resigned, the massive ideological fracture this is exposing within American politics right now, and what this internal chaos actually means for an ongoing war.
Yeah, but before we break down the mechanics of this situation, I really need to pause and speak directly to you, our listener.
Definitely. This is important.
It is. Because the sources we're synthesizing today contain some highly charged political content.
Yeah.
I mean, we're going to be discussing U.S. partisan politics, the conflict with Iran, and the lobbying efforts of Israel.
Right.
So it's crucial to state clearly right up front that neither of us is taking a side here. We are not endorsing any of the viewpoints we'll be discussing today.
Nope, not at all.
Our sole purpose is just to impartially report on the facts, synthesize the ideas from the original source material, and really just help you understand the sheer scale and the underlying mechanisms of this situation without any ideological filter.
Yeah, that impartiality is so crucial, especially because the timeline we're looking at right now is incredibly compressed. I mean, 18 days into a conflict.
That's nothing.
It's barely enough time for the logistical supply lines to settle, yet the internal political battlefield is already detonating.
Oh, it's a full-blown crisis.
So to understand how we got here, we got to start with the catalyst itself, which is Joe Kent's resignation letter to President Trump.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Let's do it. Because Kent didn't just, quietly clear out his desk and give the standard line about wanting to spend more time with his family.
Right, the usual Washington exit.
Exactly. He didn't just fade into the private sector. He essentially threw a chair through the front window on his way out.
He really did.
He stated in the letter that he cannot in good conscience support this war. He explicitly argued that Iran posed no imminent threat. And then, and this is the crazy part, he went a step further, alleging that the U.S. was pressured into this conflict by Israel and its domestic lobby.
Yeah, and I mean, the language he chose there, it's explicitly designed to inflict maximum structural damage to the administration's narrative.
Oh, absolutely.
Because you have to look at his role. As the director of the National Counterterrorism Center, Joe Kent's entire job description was to assess and synthesize threat intelligence from across the government.
He's the guy looking at all the data.
Exactly. The NCTC isn't just some think tank. It is the primary intelligence funnel that dictates what threats actually reach the Oval Office.
So when the guy managing that specific intelligence funnel says, publicly, that the data does not show an imminent threat,
It's a massive blow.
it really is.
Right.
He is stripping away the primary legal and political justification for military action. I mean, it hands immediate ammunition to lawmakers who might want to block funding or, launch investigations.
Right, and that is the exact mechanism of why this is so disruptive.
Yeah.
The administration is out there arguing that action against Iran is a fundamental necessity for American national security.
Right.
And Kent is using the bureaucratic weight of his office to say, no, that assessment is false. And furthermore, by explicitly asserting that a foreign ally and its lobby pushed the U.S. into the conflict, he isn't just disagreeing on, military strategy.
He's going after the motive.
Exactly. He is actively attacking the integrity of the commander-in-chief's decision-making process. He's telling the public that the war is not being fought for the reasons the government claims it's being fought.
Which, fundamentally changes the entire nature of the debate. Because it's one thing for an administration to dismiss an anti-war critic as just some pacifist who doesn't understand global threats.
They do that all the time.
Right, they can usually brush that off. But the administration cannot use that playbook here specifically because of who wrote the letter.
Right. The messenger matters.
Hugely. Joe Kent is not a college campus activist. The guy is a combat veteran with 11 deployments.
11. Let that sink in.
Yeah. When someone with 11 deployments to combat zones tells you a war is a bad idea, the public inherently pauses to listen. And it goes even deeper than his service record, actually.
Yeah, it's deeply personal.
It is. He is a gold star husband. His wife, Shannon Kent, was killed in Syria in 2019.
What's fascinating here is how Kent's personal tragedy inextricably shapes his politics, and how that tragedy basically forces people to engage with his message.
Right, you can't just ignore him.
You can't. He isn't speaking in abstract geopolitical theory. He is bringing immense, undeniable personal credibility to the table. In our sources, Kent directly compares the current arguments being used to justify the Iran war to the arguments used for the 2003 Iraq war.
And we'll all know how the 2003 Iraq War is viewed today.
Exactly.
I mean, a significant portion of the country, completely across the political spectrum, views that conflict as a profound mistake based on flawed intelligence.
Yeah. And by invoking 2003, Kent is deliberately tapping into this deep, lingering national trauma regarding intelligence failures. The 2003 conflict was predicated on the idea of an imminent threat from weapons of mass destruction, which proved disastrously incorrect.
Right.
So Kent is drawing a direct mechanical parallel here. He's saying, look, I am the intelligence director. I am looking at the data for Iran. It's 2003 all over again, and my family already paid the ultimate price for the last mistake.
Wow.
He has effectively turned his profound grief into a really potent political weapon against repeating history.
I mean, I hear the gold star argument, and the emotional weight of that is just undeniable. But playing devil's advocate for a second, we really cannot ignore the massive political baggage he brings to this conversation.
That's a fair point.
Our sources explicitly highlight that Joe Kent has a documented history of engaging with and promoting conspiracy theories.
He does, yeah.
So if you are like a Democratic lawmaker right now and you oppose this war, you might want to staple his resignation letter to the doors of the Capitol because it perfectly aligns with your anti-war stance.
It's exactly what you want to hear.
Right. But you can't actually put him on television or rally behind him as your champion because of that controversial history. It makes him a highly polarizing messenger.
And that tension creates a severe cognitive dissonance for his critics and potential allies alike.
Absolutely.
Because, you can attack his past statements regarding conspiracy theories, but you cannot attack his military sacrifice.
Yeah.
Nor can you easily dismiss his professional access to the actual intelligence he's referencing. This makes him an incredibly difficult figure for the administration to simply write off as a partisan hack.
They're trapped.
They really are.
Mm.
His voice is deafening right now specifically because he operates completely outside the neat boundaries of traditional partisan politics.
Which brings us to the fallout. Because his exit isn't just a human resources headache, it is sparking a full-blown identity crisis within the Republican Party itself.
Oh, massive one.
The Meiji Coalition was originally built, in large part, to attack establishment foreign policy. But right now, without a clear external establishment enemy to focus on, the movement is having, an autoimmune response.
That's a great way to put it.
It's turning its anti-interventionist antibodies against its own sitting administration.
That autoimmune analogy is spot on.
Yeah.
We are watching the real-time fracture of a major political coalition.
Yeah.
You have the anti-interventionist America First wing. These are the voters and politicians who were drawn to the explicit promise of ending endless overseas wars.
Right.
And Joe Kent is a prime representative of this faction. But then on the other side, you have the hawkish wing of the party. These are figures who view Iran as and I'm quoting the sources here, demented terrorist regime that absolutely must be neutralized with aggressive military force.
And those two worldviews, they just cannot simultaneously dictate foreign policy. It's like a famous band breaking up over creative differences right in front of us.
It really is.
If you were watching this play out on the news, the reactions from conservative figures are just whiplash-inducing.
Oh, completely.
You have Tucker Carlson, who is a massive amplifier for the America First movement, going on record to call Joe Kent the bravest man he knows.
Right.
But in the exact same political ecosystem, you have Representative Don Bacon reacting to the resignation by essentially saying, good riddance.
Yeah, and going even further than that.
Exactly. Bacon publicly accused Kent of anti-Semitism, specifically because of Kent's comments regarding the Israel lobby pushing the U.S. into war.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, this isn't just a disagreement over a single Middle Eastern policy. It is a battle for the operational definition of the Meiji movement.
What does it actually mean, right?
Exactly. What does America First actually mean in practice? Does it mean aggressively projecting military power to protect foreign allies and preemptively destroy perceived threats? Or does it mean pulling up the drawbridge focusing entirely on domestic borders and staunchly refusing to engage in foreign entanglements.
And President Trump, he did not let that question hang in the air for long.
No, he did not.
He responded directly to the resignation, calling Kent weak on security. But then he took to Truth Social and posted something that I think is the most revealing mechanic of this entire situation.
I know exactly what you're going to say.
He wrote, in all caps, "They are not MAGA, I am." I mean, he is defining the entire political movement in real time around his current executive action to stop Iran from obtaining a nuclear weapon.
It is a profound assertion of political dominance over ideological consistency.
Definitely.
By posting, "They are not MAGA, I am,"
Hmm.
Trump is attempting to forcefully yank the steering wheel of the movement. He is overriding the anti-interventionist wing overriding people like Joe Kent and Tucker Carlson by bluntly asserting that the ideology isn't a fixed set of principles about isolationism or interventionism.
Right.
The ideology is simply whatever he decides it is in any given moment.
He is basically trademarking the philosophy on the fly. He's telling his base, you don't get to use my brand to criticize my war. He demands loyalty to the leader's decisions rather than loyalty to a pre-existing ideological framework.
Precisely. And that dynamic places the survivors, the anti-interventionists who are still operating inside the administration, in an incredibly precarious, almost untenable position.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Because Joe Kent pulled the ripcord and jumped. But what about the people who hold the exact same worldview who are still sitting in the plane?
Yeah, the ones who stayed.
Let's look at Vice President J.D. Vance and the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard.
Gabbard's role here is crucial to understand.
Right, because as the DNI, she sits at the very top of the intelligence hierarchy. She oversees 18 different intelligence agencies, and that includes the National Counterterrorism Center. Joe Kent was literally her direct subordinate.
Yeah, and both Vance and Gabbard have built massive political brands on being fierce skeptics of foreign military intervention and regime change wars.
It's their whole thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yet, despite what must be intense private friction, our sources indicate both of them are staying put. They're choosing to stay in step with the president.
Think about the bureaucratic reality Gabbard faces tomorrow morning. She built her entire brand on opposing exactly this kind of war. Now she is the Director of National Intelligence during a major conflict. And the guy running her counterterrorism desk just loudly quit, claiming the intelligence doesn't justify the bombs being dropped.
It's a nightmare scenario.
How do you even run a briefing under those conditions?
I don't know how you do it.
And Vance is performing an equally extreme high-wire act. I mean, he explicitly stated publicly that he wouldn't let the media drive a wedge between him and Trump.
Yeah, but the wedge isn't the media.
No. The wedge is the war itself, and it is clearly already splitting their base right down the middle.
This really highlights the defining tension of serving in any high-stakes administration.
Yeah.
It's the daily calculation of political pragmatism versus ideological purity.
Right.
When you are in the room where global decisions are made, you have to decide if making a principled exit, like Kent did, is actually worth losing all your operational influence.
Yeah, do you just give up your seat at the table?
Exactly. Or do you swallow your objections, stay in power, and try to steer the massive ship of state from the inside?
The classic adult in the room strategy. You convince yourself that if you leave, whoever replaces you is just going to be so much worse.
That's exactly the mindset. For Vance and Gabbard, they likely calculate that abandoning their posts during an active conflict would completely destroy their long-term political viability within the party.
Makes sense.
And from Trump's perspective, this internal friction might actually serve a purpose.
Oh, really? How so?
Well, keeping highly visible skeptics like Gabbard and Vance physically in the building is a way to contain the rebellion. If they stay and do their jobs, they implicitly endorse the administration's actions, which helps quiet the anti-interventionist voters who trust them.
Ah, I see. But as Joe Kent just demonstrated, you can only contain that kind of pressure for so long. Eventually, the cognitive dissonance becomes too loud, and someone decides the cost of silence outweighs the benefits of the office.
Without a doubt.
We started this deep dive looking at a single resignation letter, but what we've really uncovered is the incredibly messy machinery of American foreign policy. I mean, we are watching a real-time battle over how a global superpower justifies war, how intelligence is leveraged or discarded, and how political coalitions literally tear themselves apart when theory collides with reality.
And this translates directly to your world as the listener.
Yeah, they
The
do.
bureaucratic infighting, the resignations, the shifting definition of what America first even means. These are not just abstract Washington parlor games.
No.
These internal mechanics dictate geopolitical actions that ripple outward, impacting global market stability, international alliances, and, most importantly, the lives of the men and women deployed to these conflict zones.
It is the raw mechanics of history happening right in front of us at breakneck speed.
It really is. And as we wrap up this deep dive today, I want to leave you with a final lingering question to ponder on your own. We've seen today how quickly the very definition of a massive political movement can shift under the pressure of a single foreign crisis. So ask yourself, if an entrenched political ideology can be fundamentally redefined overnight simply by its leader's response to a new war, what does that mean for the longevity and stability of any political platform in the modern era?
Wow.
Are we moving into a time where political ideologies are entirely fluid, changing day by day, based purely on the demands of loyalty rather than principle?
That is a brilliant question to end on. Because if the rule book can be rewritten in 18 days, you really have to wonder how anyone plans for day 19.
Truly.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We really hope this helped you untangle the mechanisms behind an incredibly complex and fast-moving situation.
We truly appreciate you taking the time to explore these crucial issues with us today.
Stay curious, keep asking the hard questions, and we will catch you on the next deep dive. Take care, everyone.